and welcome back to my channel. Today we have 10 new amazing Mandela effects for you, so sit back, relax, and get excited. Tune to the end of this video because there's a foolproof Mandela effect and you're not going to want to miss it. Our first Mandela effect of the day is going to be from the Three Little Pigs, and it's going to be the Big Bad Wolf and his tendency to knock down little piggies' houses. Do you remember the Big Bad Wolf saying, "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down"? Or do you remember, "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in"? Well, it's always been, "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." And the exciting news about this video is that I have finally figured out the technology to put a clip in this video. You get to see Mr. Big Bad Wolf say the words himself.
"I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in."
So as you just saw in that lovely little clip, the Big Bad Wolf says, "blow your house in." Let me know what you think about that one. I think it's kind of weird. Everyone I've asked has said, "blow your house down," but who knows? Get ready. So, who knows who Marilyn Monroe is? Yeah, so we all know who Marilyn Monroe is, I hope, and if you don't, well, you're uneducated. You're uneducated. That was so ironic. Marilyn Monroe has always had an iconic birthmark, and some people even draw on this birthmark to try to be Marilyn Monroe. So a lot of people remember her birthmark being right about here. Okay, so do you remember Marilyn Monroe's birthmark being here? Or do you remember Marilyn Monroe's birthmark being here? Well, Marilyn Monroe's birthmark has always been like up over here-ish, which makes absolutely no sense because everyone's
like, what the fuck, like, you're stupid, like, why do you even care?
No. There's something called a Marilyn Monroe piercing. And the Marilyn Monroe piercing, which I'm going to put an image in, or multiple images of in, is right here, where everyone remembers her iconic birthmark being. So why did her birthmark move, like, I don't know, it seems like a pretty good Mandela effect to me. The Mandela effect of the day is going to be one of the first Mandela effects that came out, because a lot of people, I realize, that might watch my channel don't actually know what the Mandela effect is at all. And for those who don't know, the Mandela effect came from Nelson Mandela, and people thought that he died in jail, but it turns out he actually died like sometime in the 2000s, not in jail, and people were very confused by that. It was like published in books that he died in jail, and people learned about it in school, but no. He died as a free person in like the late 2000s. I'll put like the actual date here, but he wasn't in jail. And so the effect that everyone started learning about the Mandela effect, besides Nelson Mandela, was the Berenstain Bears. Do you remember it being spelled the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears? Well, it's the Berenstain Bears, and that doesn't even sound right. That is spelled completely differently. People that I've told this to don't believe it at all, and they go home and they look at their childhood books, and it's always been the Berenstain Bears, and that just doesn't make sense. So our realities have to be shifting or something. And a crazy thing here is the song
I chime in when that happened to people never heard of, closing the goddamn door down.
Well, there was a huge Mandela effect crisis going on, that it was closing the goddamn door or closing a goddamn door. And this Mandela effect seemed to kind of resolve itself, and now it's very clearly the. But at the time, Halsey actually tweeted Brendan Urie, the singer of that song, and said, like, "can you explain this? Like, why is this line changing? Like, what's the actual line?" And he said, "Ha ha ha, I can't explain it. That's some Berenstain/Berenstain Bear shit." As in, Brendan Urie and Halsey both know about the Mandela effect, and even the singer of the song was confused himself. And the Berenstain/Berenstain Bears remains one of the biggest mysteries because it just doesn't make sense and it doesn't add up to our memories of this life. The last one was like a 3-for-1 and kind of like a history lesson. I'm just gonna do a light one that a lot of people might not believe, and I personally just think it's weird. It's just my opinion that this could be a Mandela effect, but I'm not saying that it definitely is. But do you remember Cinderella's necklace being a light blue, maybe with a pendant on it? Like, do you remember that as Cinderella? Or do you remember a black choker? Like, I'm sorry, but the last time I checked, Cinderella was not a basic white girl in a sorority with a choker on going to, like, sorority rush. Cinderella was in all blue. She's a beautiful ass princess stunned out by her like fairy godmother, and I don't think the fairy godmother was like, yeah, let's make you a choker bitch tonight with like a black choker that'll show me you're like kinky. Like, no, and it doesn't even go with the outfit. So I personally do not remember that, but I don't know why both versions exist. If the blue necklace never existed in any movie, Cinderella never had a blue necklace on, like, did we imagine that? Did we create that because it looked better with the doll, so people started to envision that? But like, I personally remember that being in the movies and the dolls and the costumes, but let me know what you think about that one. The next Mandela effect kind of follows the same theme as Cinderella, which is why I'm going to put it next, and it's about Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. And when the Seven Dwarves go off to work, they sing their little song, and do you think they go,
hi ho, it's off to work we go?
Or do you think it's,
hi ho, it's home to work we go?
well, it's home to work we go, and I don't have any explanation for that. Like, every single person I know thinks it's hi ho, it's off to work we go. Like, that's 100% what I remember. That's what I grew up singing. Either everyone's an idiot, I don't know, everyone's the same idiot. That's what's confusing about the Mandela effect. If this was always hi ho, it's home to work we go, why did we all hear it the other way? This Mandela effect here is going to relate back to Star Wars. And I always think it's weird when there's multiple Mandela effects in one movie. It kind of makes it seem like it'd be more of a time travel, like raindrop effect, where if one thing changed in like one direction, then multiple things changed in that direction. So like Luke, I'm your father could be connected to this. So this is C-3PO, and C-3PO is like the friendly little robot who's probably kind of gay. I don't know if I just like stated a claim that's never been stated before, but I don't know, he gives me gay vibes. But anyways, I remember him being all gold. I remember him being completely gold. Do you remember him looking like this? Or do you remember him looking like this with one silver leg? Well, C-3PO has always had one silver leg, and like I had Star Wars dolls. Like, I had a C-3PO doll, and it was all gold. And I've seen dolls of it being all gold, and I remember him in my mind in the movie being all gold. And everyone's like, well, maybe it like changed somewhere throughout the movie. Like, he also got like red armor on in other pictures, and like that's true. Like, later on in the movie, C-3PO did change, and he did become red. I'll put in a picture of that too. But from the very first movie, C-3PO always had one silver leg, and like C-3PO was like the shit robot. Like, he was like part of the elite squad. Like, he was all gold, and he was very proud of that because he was like one piece of beautiful metal. But
That was very deep.
but no, he's always had one silver leg, and I just don't think that's right. And I'll try to put in some proof here, but that's the other Star Wars Mandela effect. Okay, so our next Mandela effect is a really interesting one, and it's all about the Statue of Liberty, and how I just talked about Star Wars and like the ripple. I think the Statue of Liberty might have more than one Mandela effect attached to it, and they're all pretty interesting. The biggest one, in my opinion, is, do you remember the Statue of Liberty being on Ellis Island, or do you remember it being on Liberty Island? Well, it's on Liberty Island, and I found so much proof of people remembering it being on Ellis Island. Like, if you search it, everyone remembers it being on Ellis Island. Like, I'll put in things of that. But I literally saw like multiple people's like recollections of their memories, and one girl's name was Elise, and she remembered going with her family, and it was Ellis Island, and she was Elise, so she felt really special, and a special part of her family trip. So I don't know, I find it really weird that it's always been on Liberty Island. I don't know where we would have got that misconception that it's always been on Ellis Island, but it's always actually been on Liberty Island. But another Mandela effect that comes with this is that a lot of people think that they remember people being allowed to go inside the torch of the Statue of Liberty. And this one has more reasons of why people might think this. If you go up to the crown, it would be very hard to distinguish if you were in the crown or if you were in the torch, so maybe people just remembered it wrong. But according to history, in 1916 there was a German attack, and it closed the torch forever from 1916 onwards. And I was pretty good at history. I remember the Germans sinking the Lusitania, and I remember like the Zimmermann telegraph, and that's why like we went to war. And I've never ever heard of a German attack on US soil, especially on the Statue of Liberty, which is like the monument of America, and I don't know why I wouldn't have learned about that in school. Let me know if you learned about that in school, but I don't know, I find it very strange that the reason that people aren't allowed to go in the torch is history that I don't remember. Quick little history break from History Mandela Matt. So I did a little more research. July 30th, 1960, during World War I, German sabotaged a munitions depot on a pier connecting Black Tom Island and Jersey City. This event is called the Black Tom Explosion, and projectile debris hit the statue, arm, and torch, and this made the torch have to be replaced, and it was replaced until 1984. I don't know, this is just confusing to me. Let me know if you've heard about this, the Black Tom Explosion. Thanks from History Mandela Matt. So our next Mandela effect here is going to come from Tarzan. And Tarzan is a movie that we all watched as children, and it has a really famous line, once again, Mandela effect going for that famous line, and it's, me, Jane, you, Tarzan. And some people even remember, me, Tarzan, you, Jane. But I just watched the entire clip, I just watched like the original movie, but it literally says, nowhere the words, me, anyone, you, anyone. Like, it just doesn't exist, but there are so many, like, there's a whole website called Me, Jane, You, Tarzan. There's tons of pictures and memes, like, me, Jane, you, Tarzan, me, Tarzan, you, Jane, whatever. Like, people remember that happening, and it never did, and here's the clip to prove it.
Oh, I see.
No. I'm Jane.
No. I'm Jane.
Jane. Tarzan. Jane.
Jane.
Exactly.
On that clip, all that happens is they go, Jane, Tarzan, Jane. And I don't know where people would have got the me part from, or the whole epic moment that everyone remembers, because it just didn't happen in this reality.
My laptop won't shut the fuck up, so I'm trying to make the fan calm down.
Okay, Mandela Matters, as promised, the best for last. There's a woman, and her name is Sally Fields. And in her 90s Oscars speech, she had the most famous and most memorable line of any speech ever given. And it was, you like me. You really like me. Or was it, you like me right now. You like me. Everyone in this reality remembers it being, you like me, you really like me, and I have so much proof of this Mandela effect, so I'm gonna put a clip in right here, and it being, you like me, you really like me, even though that's not what actually happened. And I'll put her actual speech in first.
You like me right now. You like me.
I guess this means you like me. You really like me.
You like me. You really like me.
You like me. You really like me.
Like me. You really like me.
You like me. You really like me. Like me. You really like me. You like me. You really like me.
Okay, so after having watched both of those things, you can see that people just didn't say what she said, and I think that's really good proof of the Mandela effect, and if you don't agree, that's totally okay. Take your opinion with you, and just get out of my life. No, I'm just kidding. The Mandela effect isn't about being right or wrong. It's about questioning reality. It's about questioning why things are happening. It's about questioning everything. And if you don't agree with the Mandela effects, that's completely fine, but as long as you have an open mind and you're curious about what's happening in the world, I really suggest you subscribe to Mandela Matt. I put out new videos every week, and so far I'm up to like 25 subscribers. I'm going to keep putting out content, and because I really enjoy this, and even if you don't like it and no one watches this, at least I had fun making it. Bye, Mandela Matters.